The year started very well. Disease was generally fairly low, and then, as it happened right across the state, the tap turned off in July, and with a full soil moisture profile, and pulses did remarkably well there to end up around at average yields. Lentils were around 1 to 2.5 tonne, field peas pretty similar, while in faba beans they range from 1 to 4 tonne, which they generally have a higher upper potential, and they achieved that in some areas, but that was fairly small. The yields in faba bean were a bit more sporadic. So the new varieties released last year, there was 3 in lentils and 1 in faba beans. In lentils there was a red lentil released, PBA Jumbo 2, and that's been very high yielding in lentil trials in South Australia and Southern Australia. It continued that this year, topping the trials again. However, its yield increase over the standards was not as much as it has been in previous years. Green lentils are an exciting new adventure. We've had green lentil varieties in Southern Australia, but generally they've been fairly poorly adapted and difficult to achieve good quality. The 2 new varieties we've released last year, which may be grown this year, they have improved seed quality attributes. They have improved disease resistance, which will enable us to get a better seed quality product. They also have high yields. However, that package still needs very careful growing, and we're advising growers who are experienced in growing red lentils to try green lentils rather than new growers, because they are a more difficult beast to work with in the fact that they are much more vigorous growing. They can get a lot bigger as a crop in crop canopy, and that can result in issues such as disease and lodging, and they need very good management to get that quality product at the end. Faba beans, as I said before, the yield varied quite a bit, and the new variety PBA Samira, which has a good disease resistance profile and has been around 5 to 10% higher yielding in the trials, it finished equal top across the trials. PBA Samira is more aimed at longer growing season areas and higher rainfall areas because of its really good disease resistance profile. It also flowers a little bit later than what we're used to in Farah and Nura, but its maturity time is similar to those varieties. When we're moving pulses into new areas, we really need to go back to the basics of getting a good crop. So picking the right pulse for that area, making sure the paddock selection is appropriate, and often that needs to be the best paddock or the better paddocks on the farm. Having good plans for weed control and disease management, and in some cases growers who haven't grown pulses don't have systems for storing grain, and some of the pulse markets are smaller and require grain to be stored after harvest before you can access the market to maximise your profit.